Now, concerning the antigenicity and the capacity of heparins to bind antibodies or to generate pathologic effects. Another question is, are all heparins equivalent for the risk of HIT? I already reported that, and it is very well known, that the risk is much higher for unfractionated heparins, but the remaining question is, are all low molecular weight heparins equivalent for the risk of HIT? And especially now with the introduction with many different biosimilar heparins, which can substitute to the brand name heparins. One information that we have is that heparins are not all equivalent between them when they are tested with in vitro models with heparin-dependent antibodies developed in patients with HIT. And there is a very important incidence of molecular weight, the average molecular weight of low molecular weight heparins and their sulfation grade. And heparins with the lowest molecular weight are those which have the lowest efficiency for binding heparin-dependent antibodies. We can also wonder on the role of presence of impurities, and this has been widely discussed the past 2 years by especially American groups, and if these impurities can increase or not the incidence of HIT, and there is not no full consensus on this. And another question is, when a new heparin is being evaluated or is being used for therapeutic applications, can we evaluate its immunogenicity before the therapeutic use? And this question is also very important, but not yet open. But there is some evidence with the available brand name heparins that they are not all equivalent between them in their efficacy to produce heparin-dependent antibodies, antigenicity, or in their efficacy to bind heparin-dependent antibodies with the in vitro assays. So now for testing the immunogenic effects of heparin, or their capacity to induce heparin-dependent antibodies, it is very important to have very well established laboratory protocols and laboratory conditions, and many studies are not performed with all the required environment for the conclusions. It is very important to test these different heparins in comparable patient groups, especially those which are at high risk for HIT, such as orthopedic surgery, cardiology, or malignancy. It is very important also to not use only rule assays, but to have isotyping or to work exactly in the same conditions. And it is also necessary to test all immunoreactive antibodies in immunological assays for their capacity to induce platelet activation. And then evaluating their capacity to bind in presence of the required PF4 concentrations antibodies from patients with clinical HIT must be assayed at various heparin PF4 concentrations, because the immune reactive complexes are not always formed in the same conditions for all the different heparins. And we can also remember that probably the inhibition studies are of great value for confirming the positivity of the different heparins in the assay. Now, finally, if we can summarize the performance of the different assays for HIT, the platelet activation assays and the assays, the immunoassays for antibodies to heparin and PF4, or in few cases to other non-PF4 antigens. Here you have the different assays. the three major platelet activation assays, C14 serotonin release, the HIPAA assay from Renacher in Germany, which is available only as a research assay in laboratories, and the conventional platelet aggregation assay, and the different ELISAs, the one using PF4 heparin complexes, PF4 and polyvinyl sulfonate, the dynamic assay, the PASIA assay from Diamet, and the membrane immunofiltration assay. So the sensitivity, the best one is for the C14 serotonin release assay, slightly lower for HIPAA and platelet aggregation. The C14 serotonin assay also with the highest specificity, and less or borderline effect of asymptomatic antibodies, as it is the case for all the platelet activation assays. Concerning the ELISAs, all ELISAs have very good sensitivity to heparin-dependent antibodies, maybe slightly lower sensitivity and specificity for the PASIA assay, and still lower sensitivity and specificity for the membrane assay, which is considered as having little clinical information for heparin-dependent antibodies. Concerning specificity, we can have a better specificity because less capture of asymptomatic antibodies with the dynamic assay and also with the PASIA assay, but it is also less sensitive than the other ELISAs. And for asymptomatic antibodies, when polyvinyl sulfonate is used, there is a tendency to higher incidence of aspecific reaction than when with the other assays, and the membrane-based assays has also some aspecific reactions with false positives. Another point which is important to consider is how fast will the antibodies disappear from blood circulation following a HIT episode. And this slide from Varkanting and Kelton shows the disappearance of antibodies as measured with the platelet activation assay or with the antigen assay, and the disappearance of antibody reactivity in patients with HIT was much faster, even if both studies were not on the same group of patients, was much faster with activation assay than with the antigen assay. And this is an expected feature because the antigen assay can also measure some asymptomatic antibodies. And this slide shows the diagnostic values, the clinical usefulness of the assays. When you have this diagonal, the assay is almost non-informative. And here you have the different assays with the different thresholds which have been used. And all the immunoassays and the platelet activation assays show acceptable sensitivities if the reactive threshold is correctly defined, and it is recommended to favor sensitivity with immunoassays, maybe to focus and to have a complementary investigations with patients with with weak positivities, than to have a higher specificity with a higher reactive threshold, because some patients will be missed.